Hello, and welcome to the Whispers of Hope show. I'm Alice White, your host. Today joining us as our special guest is Tim Weston, a pilot from Angel Flight West. Tim and I will be discussing their organization and the mission of Angel Flight West. Thank you for joining us. Hi, Tim. I'm so glad you could be here today.
Well, thank you, Alice. It's nice to be here, and it's an exciting time in my life.
Well, yes. Tell me a little bit about this Angels Flight West.
Well, it started in 1983 in the Los Angeles area. Several pilots noticed that there was a great need for patients to get from outlying areas into the Los Angeles area for medical treatment.
Okay.
And so they got started, and it expanded throughout 11 western states, Alaska and Hawaii. And it's all run by the headquarters in Santa Monica Airport.
I see.
Everything's done on the internet.
Okay.
And so you have a view on your home computer of what flights are available. And if we just take off, you look at the selection of flights. If you want to fly it, you do that.
So this is about people that are in dire straits and they have probably no other means to get to, say, a medical facility, or so what all does that involve? Is it like cancer patients, or what all do you, what kind of people?
Cancer patients, transplant patients.
Oh, you do? Okay.
We take kids to camps, diabetes, sickle cell anemia camps, various different camps, and occasionally we transport animals, but very seldom. Prior to the pandemic, we transported blood from Port Angeles, Sequim, all over Western Washington into Seattle.
Wow.
And
okay.
So then we have also transported wounded warriors.
Oh, okay.
And we transport the dependents also if they need to go to the hospital. But when you have a patient in Grangeville, Idaho that needs to be in Seattle every 2 weeks, it is a lot of airfare, and it gets to show a hardship.
Yes.
So we help there, and many times you have a transplant patient that can't be around large crowds in an airplane, in an airliner.
Okay.
So we can transport them. And if you're coming from OMAC, it's a long drive to get to Seattle for cancer treatment.
Yes.
So this is just a way that we can help them.
Okay.
And it makes it much easier on their travel.
Yes. So speaking for yourself, you were a commercial pilot for how many years, and for what airlines?
Well, I worked for United Airlines for 32 years.
My goodness. Okay. And then you were in the Air Force as well?
That's correct. I spent 6 years in the Air Force.
In the Air Force. And so how exactly did you get started in this amazing, I would call it outreach ministry with Angel Flight? How were you personally involved? How did it start with you?
Well, I retired in 1999, and Myrna and I bought this Beach Baron. We wanted to fly, and then a few months later I read an article about a special organization that sounded very good to me, Angel Flight West, and so I joined the group, and I have been with them since the year 2000.
Oh my goodness.
And I've done about 120 missions. There are some people who've done a lot more, but I've done a lot of those.
So these guys that are actually flying these planes, are they retired pilots like yourself, or are they pilots of the smaller planes, or?
They're generally just general aviation pilots. They can be just somebody that learned to fly on their own. They might have been a corporate pilot, airline pilot, military pilots. So that's people that just have a love for aviation.
Okay, and that's you.
And it's a way to give back. God blessed me with a love for flying, and blessed me with good health.
Yes.
So it really is. The Air Force paid for my flight training. United paid me well. And so I'm just giving back.
That's wonderful. So the people that are in need, how do they go about, say, getting help from an organization like this?
Well, when they start their treatment, for instance, Cancer Care Alliance in Seattle, they are there. And the social services division of the hospital or medical facility is the one they work with.
Okay.
to determine if they're far enough away that they need transportation.
Okay.
And they'll set that up and give them the number, and then the patient calls Angel Flight and informs them of when their appointment is, and they'll set up the flight, and it'll appear on the internet so that we can schedule a flight for them. And the same thing for the flight home.
The flight back home. And we had talked earlier about the angels that are on the ground. What exactly is their...
Okay, well, when we reach our destination of Boyne Field or Renton to bring our patients in, they need transportation, either to the medical facility or the hotel where they'll be staying for the night.
Sure.
And so we have a group called Earth Angels.
Earth Angels.
And they supply their car transportation from the airport to and from the airport and facility.
Wow, and these are all volunteers.
Everybody is a volunteer.
Every single one.
And there's about 700 volunteers in Washington State, 235 active pilots. And these flights do not cost the patient a penny.
That is amazing.
All the expenses are paid for by the pilot.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That is beautiful. So if you don't mind, share a little bit with me about your CEO and where this came out of California, and tell me a little bit about what that was about, how that got started.
The
main organization started out of
Angel
California.
Flight West is there. There's an executive director, Josh, and Sherry Samarusti, assistant director. I've known her for over 20 years.
Awesome.
And,
Okay.
so they have about a volunteer group of people that run telephone banks.
Okay.
And they do a lot of work for grants to supply
they do.
their money, because they have to operate. They're paid people, actually.
Sure.
And there's no fee for us to join Angel Flight. It's just we have to maintain our currency.
Of course.
And but they do all the work from there. And Alaska Airlines is a big benefactor for Hawaii and Alaska.
I see. Okay.
The former CEO of Alaska is also an Angel Flight pilot. And so he connected up Alaska Airlines with us.
Yes.
And they supply seats for patients that must come to Seattle for treatment.
Oh, that is
So
amazing.
It's really a good
That's amazing.
thing.
So, an outsider like myself, is there any way to contribute if you wanted to an organization like this, like to, volunteer yourself or your time, your money, whatever? Is there a way?
You can volunteer yourself. When I take a co-pilot, if I have a family, or I like to have a co-pilot in case they don't like flying and have troubles.
Sure.
So, but they're called mission assistants, and they join Angel Flight, and then they do that. For a long time, we had a mission or a form for release of liability.
Okay.
And we had to fill that out and send it in. And so now all the patients work with Santa Monica, get their liability release done there, and all the mission assistants, pilots have their release of liability done. So we get that early on, and then we meet at the airport.
Just like that.
Yeah.
So when you get a call, let's say, and there's a person that they need help, what's your first step, and is there stipulations on them even being able to get on your plane? Is there a certain
Right, there
protocol?
are. All our patients have to be ambulatory. They have to be able to get in and out of an airplane.
Okay.
If a person is on a stretcher, they have to go with medevac.
Okay.
But we have patients that are able to get in and out of an airplane.
Okay.
And if they need oxygen, they can bring their own.
Okay.
But,
Okay. And then I'm interested in the Seattle, I want to say this right, the Spirit of Seattle. We had talked a little bit about that. I'm very interested. I would like to hear more about that.
Okay, the Spirit of Seattle was the first 727 put into commercial service by United Airlines in 1963.
Oh my.
And I hired on to United in 1966, and I've flown that airplane several times. I was a flight engineer, I was a co-pilot, and a captain.
And a captain.
And last time I flew it, I knew the airplane was headed for Everett. to be restored for museum presentation.
Wonderful.
And so I was a check pilot, and I had a brand new co-pilot.
Yes.
Checking the co-pilot out. And so I wanted to get a good picture of that.
That is very exciting. So at this point, like on an average, let's say, how many calls do you get for yourself, say in 1 month time? How many calls just you personally?
That's up to me, depending on the weather.
Okay.
My aircraft doesn't go through ice or hills or thunderstorms.
No.
So, before the pandemic, I was doing 1 or 2 flights a month.
Okay, but still, that's
sometimes 3 or 4. But I used to do about 12 to 15 a year.
So
it's just up. I look on the email comes in, and it says here are the flights available, and occasionally I will get a phone call saying, hey, we have somebody that had to cancel, can you help us?
Oh, and you're
so I check the weather and see what things look like, and then I'll help out.
And so everything that you do is all out of pocket.
That's right.
And I'm talking the prices of gas.
That's right.
It's all. And so it's really great that you could share this with our listening audience, our viewing audience, excuse me, because I've never heard of this until I actually got to talk with you and your wife. And I was so excited about it because this is something that people need to know, that this organization is out there and these people are real. These people, they're doing this because they have a love of people and they want to help. And so I think it's beautiful. And so for you, how many years actually now have you been doing the Angel flight?
I started in the year 2000.
The year 2000.
And so I'm still doing them.
That's 22 years.
Yes.
22 years.
And
yeah. So does your lovely wife get to go with you sometimes?
She used to,
Yeah?
but she has decided to stay home.
Oh, she did, yes. And sometimes you do transport animals.
Right.
Yes. Do you want to share that with me?
Well, I think we'd been doing this about 3 years, and we were called to transport a dog from Spokane to Seattle for service dog training.
Okay.
And we went over there, and it's the first time this dog had ever had a bath, and he was about 1.5 years old. And first time he'd been in a car,
Oh, no.
and this would be the first time in an airplane, so we didn't know what he was going to act like. And Myrna was in the back seat with him, and here is this shivering, wet, stinky dog.
In a plane.
And we flew to Seattle, and we met the person that was going to train him for a service dog. And she was in a wheelchair and riding a city bus. And so we talked to her, and as she was getting ready to depart, Myrna said, do any of these dogs ever flunk out of Service Dog Academy? And this lady thought, and she said, no, maybe 1 or maybe 2. So at that point, Myrna reached in her purse and gives her this business card and said, if he does, give me a call. 2 months later, the phone rang. And we couldn't get up to Seattle quick enough.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And he was our dog for about 12 years.
That's wonderful. So you went up there and you picked up this this mutt. The love of your life. Good job, Myrna. I'm proud of you. Yeah. So what other kind of services outside of, you did mention that these flights used to deliver blood to the blood bank. So what does that look like now with COVID in the last 2 years? We
haven't done a blood run for the last 2 years.
Oh no.
Before the pandemic, Bloodworks Northwest had drives at high schools and junior colleges, and they would collect the blood, and we would go to these outlying airports and pick up the blood and transport it to Seattle. And this all came about after 9/11. Department of Homeland Security said no more unaccompanied baggage could be on a vessel, a plane, train, bus, anything like that. It had to be accompanied. Well, the Bloodworks people would take the blood down to the dock, put it in the crew quarters. They all knew them.
Yeah.
They'd transport it to Seattle and be picked up there. Well, that was no longer viable.
Oh.
So Angel Flight came into being there, and we started transporting blood then.
Oh, my goodness. And so even like for people that they're having, a critical situation, and you were actually taking these transplant
Right.
for people, and so did that stop as well, or?
We don't transport organs per se. What happens is the medical facilities have a Learjet or whatever, a jet, that they will transport the whole team to the place, and they will take the organs and transplant them right there. So we don't do that anymore, but we do have patients that have had a transplant, and they ride. They're normal people, and they ride all right.
Wow, that's amazing. So if a person needed help, they can go to your website? And
well, they'll have to be certified, and that's generally done through the Social Services Department of the hospital, or medical care facility. They'll set that up.
Okay, and so I understand you actually go into these hospitals and you actually speak to people, conference type of situation?
Right. I've been to several medical facilities and briefed the social department about what services we can supply, because they didn't know about us.
Let's say, big surprise.
Right. It started in 1983, and I was called in 2001 to do mission number 2000. We transported a family from Spokane to Seattle, and it was on television in Spokane.
Was it? Oh, that's wonderful.
And
Beautiful.
So that was from 83 to 2001. From 2001 to present day, it's 92,500 missions flown.
Are you serious?
So it's really taken over.
Astronomical. Wow. Wow.
We're getting known.
Yes, absolutely. And so at this point, you're still going to continue. You're not going to stop. You're just going to keep helping people, right?
As long as I can fly, maintain my health.
Yes, as long as you can, yes. And I understand that also a dear friend of yours from our local area, Thurston County, from Wilcox Farms?
Yes.
Okay, now tell me a little bit about him.
Well, Barry Wilcox has it's a company aircraft, it's a Cessna 182.
Yes.
And he's also a member of Angel Flight, and he's flown quite a few missions, and I've gone with him, and he's gone with me.
Yes, wonderful, wonderful.
He just loves doing that also.
Yes, and so is he a retired pilot as well?
Oh, no, he was with Wilcox Family Farms.
Oh, okay.
He grew up there.
So, no pilot.
He graduated from Yelm High School,
that's wonderful.
and immediately he went in the Air Force from ROTC also.
I see,
And then he came out and went right with the company, with eggs. So Myrna and I have known Susan and Barry for quite a few years.
That's wonderful, and he's been doing this, and he'll probably continue as well. So at this point, I think what I would ask you is if you would mind looking in our camera and just give a little bit of information just from your heart that people will feel comfortable that it's okay that they can, if they're in a hospital situation, that they can contact someone like your organization because you're credible and you guys are devoted and you're very, very reliable. Right. And if you wouldn't mind, just speak a word to the people.
All right. For people that do have a medical situation and they need transportation, because many folks may live out in the rural areas that don't have commercial air transportation to Seattle. So this is one way that Angel Flight can help. It also at times, if you're coming into Seattle every 2 weeks for chemo, airfare is very expensive and it crops up. It can really put a load on a budget. Many times a transplant patient can't be around large crowds in an airliner, and that's another way that we can help. And Angel Flight does accept donations, and that's available. You can look at our website on angelflightwest.org, and there's a place that you can donate there.
Thank you. Tim, I wanted to ask you about, I know we had discussed this, about the Wounded Warriors. Would you mind sharing a little bit of that with me?
Well, we had a lot of military action over in the Middle East.
Okay.
And many times the Marines were coming back to the West Coast wounded in battle. And they would come into San Diego, LA, whatever, and they would be outpatient from the military hospital, but not anywhere near home, and never had a long recovery. So we found out about this, and we arranged transportation for the wounded warriors back home.
Really? Oh,
So
that's
we could transport
beautiful.
them. Well,
That's beautiful.
The upshot of that, the Navy found out about it, and they said they can't be doing that. The Navy then turned around and started giving them a ticket back home.
Really?
So,
Oh my goodness.
sorry for choking up. But,
No, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. That's amazing.
and then at the start of the pandemic, the Navajo Nation was running out of personal protection equipment and water and masks, and so they contacted Angel Flight, and Salt Lake area accumulated a lot of the equipment, and so the pilots would arrive at Salt Lake Airport and they would load up all of the cargo on their airplanes and fly them into the Navajo Nation, because they had shut that down totally. You couldn't get in or out.
Oh, no.
And so that was a great help for
Oh
them.
my gosh, you get the plane with everything that they needed. Otherwise, they had no help.
Right.
And they were out of water and masks and necessities. And oh my goodness.
Another point that is of interest, in 9/11, they had grounded all aircraft. Aviation was totally grounded. They were international flights. They had to land.
Oh no.
Some other nation, you know, and but they said, well, on 9/11, you might hear flight airborne on the West Coast, because they had an Angel Flight that was transporting blood, plasma, to different hospitals if they needed it, and they were the only airplanes that were
The only
airborne
two.
that day.
With Angel Flight.
Was an Angel Flight.
Oh my goodness. Otherwise, so it saved a lot of people's lives by
Right.
having those open like that.
Yes.
So this organization is fabulous, and I'm just blessed to have learned about it, and I'm sure our audience is blessed to have heard about it. And I would really, really love to have you back someday. If you would come back and join me and
Well,
give us
be
some more
glad to.
information. Thank you again. If you would like more information on the Whispers of Hope, or if you would like to share your story, please see the contact information at the end of this video. And you can also follow us on Facebook or subscribe to our YouTube channel. This show airs on Comcast Channel 22 on the following days: Monday at 11:30, Thursday at 6:30, and Saturdays at 12:30 p.m. And I thank you again for joining us. Goodbye.